Welcome back to Coats and Conversation. I'm your host, Kendra Coates, a licensed therapist who works with couples and athletes in the state of Alabama and Illinois. In today's conversation, I'll have Millikin University student athlete Kendra Manul discussing all things centered around the transition from high school sports to college sports, the difficulties and the nuances of being a college athlete, transitioning from gymnastics to golf. And then we talk in depth about Kendra's experiences with mental health. One of the things that stood out in this episode, she had mentioned there was just a dark spot in her life with when in regards to college athletics, and it struck home for me because I think I've seen a lot of athletes who struggle with mental health, and they get to the point that they want to give up. And I think this conversation and many other conversations out there centered around mental health are so important because the more and more we can talk about these things, the more and more we can give athletes the resources and tools and support that they need to be not only a better athlete, but a better human being. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did having it. So, Kendra, we are going to have a conversation today. A lot of what we'll be discussing will be centered around identity, injuries, and mental health. But I'm curious to know, because a lot of times people sometimes wonder, what do college athletes actually go through? And so for you, what has been the lowest point in your journey as a college athlete?
Well, I think there's been many of them, but one thing that I have realized is they all kind of center around balancing between school, athletics, extracurricular activities. One other thing I feel like is not letting outside factors affect me that probably hindered a lot of things for me. I'm very much a people pleaser. So when I have a lot of that going on, I just don't want the people that I'm working with, rather that be with my coach, my peers, my professors, thinking I'm not putting in 100% of the effort just because there's a lot going on. So I think that I don't have like a specific situation, but I feel like that kind of all those played a part into like low points that I've had.
Did it change you? Did it change your perspective from, high school until now?
I would say so. It kind of made me grow up a little bit, I'll say. I
Mm,
feel like in high school, everything's kind of like babied in a sense. Everything's kind of handed to you. You're not everything, there's like a set plan with everything compared to going to college. You're on your own. You're figuring yourself out. You're navigating a new environment. So all that kind of plays into like self growth in a sense. And I think that would fall under that category. There's a lot of situations that you have learned from, or most athletes will learn from in the 4 years, 5 years, what however long they're a college athlete for, that really shape you.
You make a good point as far as being in high school, everything or a lot of things are, I don't know if spoon fed would be the right term, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of guidance, there's a lot of coaching, all of the things. So for you, what was the hardest part about going from high school athletics to college golf?
I think the environment is more serious. I feel like one thing to note with that is I didn't start high school golf to my sophomore year, and that's when I like actually first picked up a club. So I was starting from zero. And I think learning and adapting to the environment and a new team and a new coach, all of those factors will affect your performance. I had a very high expectation going into college and playing. I'm like, okay, I got this in the bag. Like, I've been playing for 3 years. Like, it's okay. Like, nothing's new. Like, I know how to golf. Like, it's fine. And that's the opposite, actually, is what happened. I feel like personally, I kind of fell apart because, like I said, there's so much changing in your life, and you have to learn how to navigate that. Like in high school, like we just said, there's a lot of guidance with things, and you do not have guidance in college. So I feel like that and just balancing new responsibilities as a college student in general and just adulting.
So you spent over 10 years being a gymnastics athlete, making that transition to golf. That's a significant shift or change. When you went through that change, so, and I would imagine that there's a different mindset in some degree with gymnastics versus golf. So
Mhm.
how did that shift impact your identity as an athlete or just even as a person?
Well, I feel like I didn't like it at first, if I'm being completely honest. Gymnastics is very fast paced. I also did it competitively for 13 years. And then I actually got injured and had two hip surgeries. And that kind of really put a halt onto things. And I love gymnastics. I love, like I said, the fast pace of it. I love my team. That's like all I knew. So after my surgeries, I tried to bounce back. Didn't happen the way I wanted it to. Doctor was just like, I'm not going to do a third surgery. You have to be done. And I would say after my first surgery, I was very optimistic. I knew I was going to have two surgeries. They were going to be a two-part surgery for my hip, but I also realized I couldn't bounce back the same. And that was actually kind of very frustrating because it was just like, well, this is all I've been doing my entire life. Like, now what? Now what am I supposed to do? I'm not as good as I was before. Had to take time off, didn't like that. I just felt very disconnected. So realizing I had to stop, and then I felt like my life was over. So I didn't want to do anything, and my parents were just like, you can't just sit here on the couch after school and not do anything. So they put me in golf, which I used to golf when I was younger a little bit with my mom and dad, but I'd play like three holes and then call it quits because it was too slow for me. I didn't like it. So I feel like I owe a lot of that to my swing coach. He had daughters that were in gymnastics. He is also a PGA pro. So he made the transition a lot easier than I feel like if someone was in my shoes would have had. So he made it actually really enjoyable. I realized after playing in high school that he opened the idea of playing in college. I was like, no, I'm not good enough for that. I wanted to go to a big school. So I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to play in college. Um, but then I like kind of sat on it and I was like, okay, maybe if I go to a smaller school, I could play. Because in my mind, playing a sport is kind of like the break I needed from school. It kind of just made me separate the two and gave me like an out in a way, like mentally, I would say, because school can be very frustrating, as we all know.
Mm.
It's a lot. I kind of took playing golf in college as like my outlet from school. So it wasn't more the competitive aspect. I didn't really care about the competitive aspect anymore, but I knew it would be something I would enjoy and keep me busy. So
Mhm. Did you ever feel like any sense of imposter syndrome or feeling like you didn't belong or weren't good enough?
Of course I did. Yeah, there's not a lot of Black golfers in this area, so I feel like that also was a big thing. I went to a predominantly white high school, so that obviously played a part to that. But I feel like working with my swing coach, I didn't feel that whatsoever. I feel like I felt that more coming to college than I did in high school. My high school team, it never crossed my mind once that I didn't belong there. We were very close and we were always like helping each other out. Realizing that there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me on the course or that are golfers kind of did. I was just like, is this meant for me? Is this gonna affect me in some kind of way mentally? But I learned to use that as like a power in a way while I played because I feel like it kind of opened doors for other Black golfers too. That like you can still be on the course and play. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
So
That was similar to I started playing golf. It's been over 10 years ago. And that was one of the similar things that I felt. I'm just like, all right, there's not really anybody around here that looks like me. But what I learned was that it didn't matter. It
mm-hmm.
didn't matter because there was this level of I wanted to play golf and I wanted to learn and meet other people. You know, that networking and being able to meet new people. As I've met so many cool people just golfing, and people that I never thought that I would ever meet, and different places that I never thought I'd be golfing. I want to come back. You mentioned the hip injury, and this is interesting because your doctor, you went through your surgeries. Doctor was like, "Hey, it's time to hang it up. Time to retire from gymnastics." You made the transition over to golf. After your injury, how did you learn to trust your body and yourself again?
I had to learn patience. Coming from somebody that has very little patience, I will openly admit that because I just don't have it. I expect it to be there like the next day. I think that was a big thing, and just learning to listen to my body and what my body is telling me. One thing my swing coach would always tell me, because I had a problem with comparing my swing to like other golfers. I'm like, why doesn't mine look like that? Like, it doesn't feel as fluid. And he always told me, he's like, everybody's swing is different. There is no one right way that a swing should look. You have to do what works for you and your body. You have to think about your past, what injuries you've had, and you have to work around that. So it's not really fair to compare what your swing looks like to somebody that has maybe never been injured once, and just also my background of things. So I feel like that was a big thing in learning not to compare myself to other athletes. Another thing would be give myself grace. I feel like that still is a learning curve. That's still something I'm learning to do every day. But I feel like those are probably the big things.
I see that a lot with athletes that I work with, where there's this, hey, I practiced it yesterday, I should be good at it now. I'm similar too. Like, I'm just, hey, if I learned something today, I want to be a master of it tomorrow, and that's generally not ever helpful. But I hear this from other athletes that I work with as far as the comparison and how that can impact and influence their performance, how they view themselves, how they show up in their spaces. For you, though, with this injury, what was scarier? Was it the physical pain of the injury, or was it the mental aspect or the mental doubts?
I feel like both play a part. I think I wasn't scared of the physical part of it more than the mental. I think me personally, if I would think back on it, I expected myself, like I said earlier, to just bounce back. Okay, I had surgery, did my physical therapy, my 4 months of physical therapy, I'm cleared. Okay, let's just start going and doing things in the gym. Like, it's fine. And not realizing, like, hey, you just took off about 6 months not doing anything, and you're weak again because you weren't able to use your muscle or leg or whatever, in my case my hip, for that time period, and realizing you have to work your way back up to that. And the only way that you're going to get back to where you started or before you got injured was time. You cannot rush time. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. I still struggle with that. But you rather do things the right way than push yourself to the point where you re injure yourself and now you're back to square one. So I feel like that would probably be the more mental side of things, and kind of rewiring my brain.
Hmm.
I wasn't really worried about getting hurt again or if it would hurt. It was more a sense of getting back to where I was so I can keep going.
I had an athlete on my podcast, and he mentions the same thing, coming back from an injury. And once you go through the process of healing, getting back into your sport, thinking that we're just going to pick back up from where we left off, but it's unrealistic. But I think that's just a thing with us athletes. We just think differently. It's just like, oh, I took 7 months off, no problem. It'll be good. Which it can be
Mm-hmm.
difficult for a lot of athletes to have that sort of acceptance that, hey, like, it's going, like you said, it's going to take time. You almost walked away from this sport at one point. What was going on for you mentally at that time?
I think the biggest thing would be frustration. I actually was thinking about this the other day. I was talking with my family about it. Like, it's crazy how I actually stayed the entire 4 years. I think a good point to make, like I said earlier, I was only doing this at that time for 3 years. It's been 3 years. And I came in, it was fall, we had qualifying matches, and I expected to shoot how I usually shoot. It looked like I never played golf before. And I feel like in that sense, and now you're in a new environment, you have a completely different team, you don't know anybody. And now the self doubt starts to come into play because it's just like, well, is this meant for me? I look like a fool out here. I don't know what to do. The coach is probably reconsidering signing me, all those things. And I became very self conscious. And that's when I started comparing myself to my older teammates who, once again, have been playing a lot longer than I have. And I also think I wanted to experience everything at the same time. This was right after COVID. We were all quarantined for COVID. So that was my junior and senior year. This is like the first ounce of freedom I got since then. And I wanted to experience what everybody would talk about, the college lifestyle. So I feel like that also played a part. But I also got COVID the second week I started school, my
Mm.
freshman year. So then I was quarantined for 10 days, couldn't play, couldn't practice. I barely know anybody. Then it was like an effect of my on my school. So it just I kind of went down a rabbit hole. I feel like at that when I realized I wasn't going to play my freshman season and I started to go down a bad hole with school and my grades coming from somebody that school came easy in high school, it kind of played with me mentally, and I didn't make some great choices. I kind of started to mask my frustration and pain with going out, drinking, which is not good, obviously, and kind of just I didn't want to feel it. I was just like, this is not what I want to do anymore. And then realizing maybe this isn't the environment. So then I looked at transferring, quitting golf completely, moving closer to home. But at that point, I just didn't really care about anything, which is obviously not good. But I feel like I also learned a lot from that sense. I more felt like a failure to myself, my teammates, my coach, my family, because I they invested so much in me to be able to go to college and play, and I couldn't do anything. So that was a lot of the reasons why I wanted to walk away. Dark time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that because I think that, it's part of your story, it's part of your journey. I also think that there are a lot of student athletes that find themselves in your position, especially, those who have either gone through injury or gone to a school and they were promised a specific position and then they get there and it's not there, or you're in this day and age with NIL, they go to a school and they're not necessarily promised all those things. Did you ever tell anybody that you were struggling, or did you keep it to yourself?
I wouldn't say like the first semester. I think more towards the second semester I did. I think it was more like a shocker when my first semester grades came out and everyone, my family was just like, what's going on here? Like,
Mm.
what's wrong? Like, what do we need to do? And I kind of just took it with time, I would say. I was just like, finish strong, just finish the year out and we'll figure it out. But as I finished the year, I still went down the rabbit hole. I felt more lonely than ever, considering I wasn't traveling. I also didn't feel like I belonged on the team, which was another reason, just because I was a freshman and I was struggling a lot. And everyone's just like it happens. You're in college, just like keep pushing forward. Before that moment, I've never really experienced a struggle like that. So it was really all new territory for me. And I just really wanted to finish the year, get the year over with. That was the only goal, and really to make it out alive. Because I really just, that was a time where I didn't even want to be alive. I didn't want to deal with it. Nothing was going according to plan. Felt like I was going to fail out of school. I literally had no hope with anything. But we took the summer after to kind of work on things and kind of make a game plan, which kind of helped a little bit. And realizing that things happen, people struggle, and it's okay. It's more how you bounce back from things. I think another big part to add is my second semester of freshman year is when I got diagnosed with ADHD. So after working with my doctor and like figuring out my plan, we figured out that was a big reason on why I wasn't doing well in school. So after figuring that out, things started to look up.
As I'm listening to you share these things, I think about, even my own experiences as a former athlete and a former coach, and struggling with identity and did I belong and injury and all of these things. But I think it's more important hearing your story because I don't know if this is common for us athletes of color to always open up and share these kinds of stories, because for a whole number of reasons. So as you were going through this tough time in your life, was there anybody else that you felt that you could relate to help guide you and get you out of this?
Actually, yeah, which I feel like is very rare to hear. I actually had another teammate. He was the only other Black person on the team. He was a senior. We're kind of from the same area, but me and him had a lot of similarities. So he was always my go-to, as especially because he was a senior. He knew the ropes of things. And when I found out that me and him were very similar, it was easier to go to him because he was the only person that would understand. I mean, yes, a lot of athletes, most athletes go through mental struggles. But like I said earlier, there's not a lot of people that look like us in the golf world. So the fact that I was able to find somebody and that genuinely cared, it made things a little easier because he would also agree that he went through the same thing that I went through, especially he transferred into our school. So even though he was older, it's still kind of like the same. Like freshman, I'm just coming in, don't know nobody. He's coming in, doesn't know anybody. And also being the only Black person. So it was nice. I was grateful to have somebody that could relate to me and give me advice. If I didn't have him as a really good friend or even like a mentor while I was in college, I don't know where I would be right now, to be honest. I probably would have been gone, if I'm being honest.
Hmm.
I don't think I would have seen the other side of things.
Hmm. Wow. So you say you feel like you would have been gone, and it's man, I think that it's so raw and so real. I'm just thinking about a whole bunch of things, but I'm just thinking about the athletes who don't have supportive people, the athletes who don't have supportive family, friends, the athletes who don't have a supportive coach. And I hear these
Right,
things when athletes come and talk to me in the therapy room, but it's just for me to hear these things, it's like, okay, what things do we need to do to better support student athletes? And I
right,
think one of the things, I'm a big believer that there should be more representation on high school and collegiate level with therapists, counselors, psychologists who look like the athletes. Because it's one of those things, in my opinion, if there's somebody that an athlete can't relate to, is that athlete truly going to open up the way they need to get some of these stressors, anxieties, etc. off their chest? I just appreciate you for the vulnerability. And I've got my mind's rolling with, okay, what do we need to do? How do we need to fix these things? Looking back, so we've talked through your identity, we've talked through injury, we've talked through mental health. If you could go back and talk to the freshman version of Kendra, what would you tell her about what really matters?
first I would give her a big hug. I feel like she deserves it. And just I feel like everybody says this, but everything will work out. As cliche as it sounds, you go through everything for a reason. If I didn't go through the stuff I went through my freshman year, I wouldn't be the person I am now. I feel like a big thing also I would tell her is allow yourself to have fun while playing. There's more to life than college golf. I know that's different depending on what level you are. I was D3. So just realizing that you're going to have bad rounds, you're going to have bad days, but does it really deserve the cost of you mentally. No, it doesn't. I also feel like it's also okay to fail. I'll be honest, I did fail some classes while I was in college. Like it's inevitable personally, but it's really how you bounce back from that. If you don't fail, you won't learn. And just keep reminding myself that and to give myself grace, give myself time, and I'll end up where I want to be.
It's also kind of like similar to golf. Like you've got to recover. You've got 18 holes,
Mhm.
and if you hit a bad tee shot and you dwell in it, how are you supposed to recover and capitalize on the next
Right.
holes that are coming up? Would that freshman version of you be proud of who you are and who you've become today?
I'd say for sure, especially this last year. It was my senior year. All I thought about was let go and have fun on the course. It's not going to matter. After this year, you're done. You did all the growing you needed to do in the 4 years. From how I was mentally my freshman year to where I am now, it's a completely different person. I I feel like my coach is also a part of that. I finally found the voice in those 4 years to speak up about what I believe in and what I want for myself, not like in a selfish way, but for me to be able to succeed. And one of those things was I cannot be in a fully competitive mindset for me to play well. Because all I'm going to think about is, oh my gosh, they're thinking about what I'm doing and this may look weird or they probably think I'm horrible, blah, 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 blah. And that really affects my performance instead of thinking about like, okay, one shot, like, oh, well, it didn't go in the direction I wanted to. We have another one to recover. Things happen. Like it's a game, you versus you. And that's all you should really worry about.
Kendra, I just want to take a second again to acknowledge your vulnerability and you sharing your story. I think there are many athletes out there who have gone through similar things as you have, wanting to quit, being in a mental space that wasn't healthy, coping with unhealthy strategies. So I thank you for coming on and sharing your story because I hope that this story is able to touch the lives of other athletes who may think that they're alone and who may think that they're not able to get out of the hole that they're in. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. It was a good conversation to have. And I feel like or athletes just also need to realize you don't need to have the weight on your shoulders. There's people around you that you could talk to and just really take it day by day, one thing at a time. There's no way you're going to be able to get everything done in a short amount of time that you want to. So just focusing on one thing and then get that done and move to the next.
I love that. I love that. If you're listening to Coats in Conversation on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment. What was your favorite part about today's conversation? If you're listening to Coats in Conversation on Apple or Spotify, be sure to share this episode with somebody else who might be able to relate with Kendra's story. As Kendra mentioned, taking it day by day can be the best way to get back up on your feet. Athletes struggle. We know they struggle on and off the course, field, but having the tools and resources to be able to think and grow from these things is the best thing to do. There's, in my opinion, no sport out there that's worth putting yourself in this dark hole that you can never come out of. There are people out there that are willing to help. There are people out there that are willing to support. So I appreciate you again for listening to Coats in Conversation. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to share this episode with somebody that can relate with this story.